All right, so we've already formatted our text. We haven't changed anything. We haven't started applying color schemes or anything yet. But we're going to talk about images for a moment. And images don't really apply to our color scheme unless you want them to. Okay, so they are kind of a separate deal from everything. Really, our color scheme will come in through our background color, which we'll talk about in a moment, our text color to some degree, and then any shapes or added things that you put in. So one of the first things you may notice is the TK logo. I will provide that. And then I have just thrown some images in here for us to play around with for a moment. This is actually going to be my image on my cover. And I wanted to talk to you if you've never really edited images in Google or any Google product, that I wanted you to know some different things about that. So the first thing I'm going to do is turn this one. And hopefully this is a high enough quality image, and if it's not, I would go back and choose another one that it will scale properly. Now remember, we have this area right here to work in. If you actually want it to bleed off the page or whatever, that's a whole different thing. I can drag it when I go to print. It's not going to change anything. In fact, that's probably what I'm going to do. It would, because you never want to drag from just this way, because it will cause your image to get all wonky, for lack of a better phrase. We want to make it bigger, and then if we want to, we can crop it, which is this little tool here, and I can crop it to fit. So it would have just that much of the mountain showing. Now you can see I can't see my words, so I would right click order, send to back. Let's send it to back. Okay, so actually that looks acceptable. Okay, if I wanted to use a color scheme and I wanted to apply it to this, I could, because this is so large, change this font color. I'm not going to go to all that trouble right now, but I could change it to the tan of that or whatever I wanted to do. All right, so now I have my TK logo on the back. I would size it appropriately, make sure it's in the correct location. So if my text is centered, I'd want this image centered, and I can use my send to back or wrap and all that stuff to make it go where I want it to go. It has a white background. If you want to remove that background, there are tools that you can use to do that, and we can discuss those in class, or you can go search on your own. And there's a reason you might want to do that in a moment, and I'll show you. All right, so now I have this image. So I want to be consistent about the size and placement of my images. So I'm actually going to, because I want it to stand out really well, I'm going to make him really big. I'm going to put him here towards the middle-ish. And I'm going to use the same tool I just used. I'm going to use my cropping tool. And I'm going to hopefully crop him. Well, he cropped all weird. So I'm going to Control Z, and I crop. Come on, behave. There we go. I think he's behaving now. Okay, so now he's all cropped. I'm going to go click off of him. All right. So you can see how that gives it a lot of punch. He's not teeny tiny. He's not too big. I don't really want to change the size of my font here. But once again, if I wanted to change this, I would just have to be very consistent throughout and make sure it is consistently the same color font throughout. Your actual body text has to stay either black, a dark gray, or if you have a dark background, which we're going to talk about backgrounds in a moment, you can change it to white. There just has to be strong contrast, and we never really want to use color and body text because it gets hard to read. So I'm going to change my background color. You can also put images in. It's a lot of work as far as making sure that you can read everything. I'm going to change it to a light gray. Let's do that. And so you can see when I do that, it made all my boxes go away. And that's why we do that last, because now I'm kind of just dependent on a visual reminder of where things are. But this actually looks nice. This is an instance where I might want to use a background remover tool and remove the background from my TK logo just so it doesn't have that white box all the way around it and I have a nice gray. But that's just an added step. Some of you are perfectionists and you really want to do that, and that's fine. Okay, so for consistency, I need my inside to be the same color, but we would do that last. I would use the same tools I just used to make all of these a consistent size. Now, this one is our smallest, so I would work off of this one. because you can make images smaller and keep quality, but it's hard to make them bigger and keep the same quality. So I can probably size this to some degree and then would work my other two off of it. But I do want to show you very quickly that you can crop in shapes, and sometimes this is fun. So you can see, like, I can put this, but I would want to be consistent across all of my, sometimes it just looks cool. Now see how he's more of a oval, and you want to be careful about dragging these in. Kind of want to be consistent and dragging them in. Let's just see if I can size this guy to be close. They have to be the same place and the same size and pretty much the same shape, unless you're going for 3 different distinct shapes. And some of you can handle that, and that's fine. All right. And so I would do the same thing to this last one, because I would want them to be consistent, and I don't think these are lined up perfectly, and we will be getting rulers out in class to make sure that everything's lined up correctly. All right. So I think one of the last few things I want to talk to you about, I'm not going to bother editing this shape right now, is adding in, let's go ahead and change my background color. Oh, I lost it. There it is, background. Want it to be the same color gray. We're going to guess that that's it. Okay, so right now my color scheme is gray, which is not the most exciting, but if my color scheme had originally been monochrome blue, let's just say that was what it is, I can add that by doing things like drawing a box all along down through here to highlight this information, and then I could fill it with a blue, just like that, or a right-clicked order, send to back. Let's see if that works. Yes. Okay, so now you can see I got some good proximity because of that, and I would want to make this font larger and stand out more on that. I might even change my font color to white on that, depending on how dark my background is. And the same thing up here. I could add another full line. I could add, because I've got circles going on, I could add a circle behind each one very subtly or off to the side. Anything like that. But honestly, at this point, besides editing that shape, I have a pretty strong brochure. I really would want to do something up here to make it stand out and look really sharp. So like I said, add another shape, add another whole border up at the top with my colors, or something along those lines to make it really pop. But that is pretty much the gist of it. If you get most of this done, you will be just fine. But always email me if you have any questions.